think we've got everything ready. Raven and Caroline are waiting. Let's go ahead and do this. Looking good. We're ready to go. All right, enough of that music. Let's get down to business here. We're going to get down to business. I tell you, hey, you know what? We're all here together. That means something to all three of us. Everybody doesn't know what just happened. So, we are not deterred. That's right. Don't tell the public what just happened. Just look at the talking TV. It's talking to you. All right. So, anyhow, as strange as I am, you have decided to join me on this journey on a Friday morning here in sunny Southern California by the beach. And I just have to say, Raven, Caroline, both of you are very brave to tackle this subject. 16 red flags that can be found in men. Well, this is not an easy subject for men to maybe listen to. Some may want to contend about some of the things that are highlighted, but the article is not ours. It is actually from Falcon Kestrel, a romantic relationship writer. This article is in the Minds Journal, found on the mindsjournal.com. This is something that you've had a chance to take a look at for a few days. There are a number of things we could talk about. But before we do any of that, guess what? I'm going to turn on my camera. There I am.
There you are.
I just have to say, Caroline, you're awesome. So,
last minute kind of girl.
Yeah.
Sorry
I don't even know if we start talking about it, it's going to take up the whole show because it was like Raven. I think we both survived that, but our hearts were like, "Where's Caroline?" We missed her already.
So sorry.
Totally missed her. So and Raven was ready. You know, she was here ready to go, and then she has me pop on in the pre-show, and I'm still like, waking up because this is early for an old man like me, but this is a subject worth talking about. All of you, both of you rather, I should say, all the efforts that you put into being here, I truly appreciate it. I just wanted to get that out of the way. And there are a few things that we're going to talk about here, but there's another aspect of life I want to touch on real quick, since we're going to be talking about men this morning. But evening for you, Caroline. You're in the Netherlands, correct?
True. I still see the sun, so it's nicely, the sun is setting.
Okay.
So yeah, for me, it's the day is, evening is starting, so weekend.
Good. Yeah, I know. Weekend, huh? What a subject for the weekend. But we have to segue now to Raven real quick here because Raven highlighted something to me before we started the show. I guess you have admirers or a fan club, Raven, every time you go to post.
Every time I post a reel, and today I posted about the red flags,
yes,
I get immediate comments, follows, likes from the creepiest men.
What does that mean?
Every time.
I agree with you.
Like,
I agree with you. It's kind of creepy.
It's kind of creepy. Thank you, but no thank you. I'm happily married.
It's kind of like happily married. You should post it and put happily married. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I should.
Media.
It does. I don't think it would matter. They would still DM me. I just want to be friends. I've had a DM before.
Yeah, no,
it's like, I don't need just friends.
That's number 17.
I was about to say.
Number 17. We're going to have to make a show.
Yes.
We're going to have to add that now and make a show later. That's number 17.
Real life example of number 17.
That's it, right.
No,
That's right.
it's actually in the article.
It is one of those about being friends or something like that, right? Yeah, I think it's one of those. Okay,
no,
so
yeah, you just want to be friends. No.
Yeah, I could go on and on about this subject that we're about to embark on. Everybody's waiting for that. I got to put something up on the screen that somebody has posted. I should say put here in the chat. That looks like Doobie Roll. I am such a small-minded person. I just figured out what that meant. Anyhow, so I have a long history of choosing toxic and abusive partners, so I am excited for this. I appreciate you saying that. Another comment in says, I'm in the UK, so it's evening too. So a shout out to you for joining us here in the UK, Caroline in the Netherlands, and of course our California connection with Raven and I. So listen, I'm going to do weird stuff here for this show. I deliberately was looking for this opportunity to do this. So here we go. That is going to start our discussion. I just needed this picture to get myself motivated to start this discussion. Why? Because the article highlights that the 16 items that are listed in the article, the first one that they highlight is this aspect of being a Prince Charming type of a person. Any thoughts when it comes to this Prince Charming aspect?
Oh my gosh, that's such a cool drink of water, but beware because it's candy coated. That's
A
for
cool
sure.
drink of water. Okay.
I had a
Yeah.
lot of like thoughts when I saw the picture. Right, I was like, nice. At first, I thought it was David Beckham, to be honest.
I did too. When I first saw it, I went like, dude, check him out, man.
So obviously, yeah, he probably gets a lot of likes. So yeah, but for me, immediately, it's also this kind of, when I also read the article, I was like, whoa, this is probably also one of those guys who's very arrogant, has maybe also the phrase sort of love bombing popped for me right away up. I don't know what your thoughts were on it, Raven, but I
Yeah.
don't know. It was
Well,
too good to be true.
yeah. It's like the whole all smiles and all charm all the time. To me, that's a red flag because they're not showing their raw, vulnerable human being. Human beings are not perfect. So when they're always presenting as perfect, you need to vet and research a lot more carefully before you just fully give your trust over to this person. Yeah, I was
That's
really bitter. What?
no. Go ahead. Go ahead
I
and
was
say
just
what you're
saying,
gonna say.
I was really bitter towards Prince Charming terms, right? Like the Disney movies that I grew up with in the 80s.
Mhm.
It was all about like rescuing the woman. Thank God it's not like that anymore. But it was like, oh, the woman is in distress and he comes and he rescues her. And when I was in my healing process from my narcissist abuse relationship, I was like, I hate Disney. Like they're so awful. But that was just part of my mourning process. And I get now that was part of the culture. They were trying to kind of show that men could be kind and rescue or whatever it is. But you have to be really careful because, like I said, if they don't show you who they truly are, they don't show you who their real friends are, they don't bring you into their world, then they're putting up a front, a smoke and mirrors, and they're hiding something that you don't really want to get entangled into.
That's actually one of the things that's highlighted in the article. Correct. A point that's made. Let me grab this here. It says, "Have you always had bad experiences when it comes to the masculine gender, but you still fail to see the red flags in a man?" Some have that aspect that they continue to fall for a Prince Charming or what they believe that person stands for, and not really recognizing who they really are. There's another point here. I'm going to grab this and move this around here for a second, ladies. I told you I woke up underneath the bed today. I don't know how that happened. But in the article that Falcon writes, there at the very top, it says, if he always says the right thing at the right time, is so charming and plays all his cards right, but you never saw his friends or where he lives, it's not his first tango and not his last. Any thoughts?
Yeah, for me, it came right away up the what I said before earlier. Like, Prince Charming is the perfect gentleman. It just looks from the outside perfect. Everything is like exactly how you would want it, and they can also make you feel exactly like that. That's the term that for example, I personally experienced with Prince Charming that I had myself in my life. Is like that love bombing. And when you date someone who is very it's manipulative also towards you in a way, who says the right things, and everything seems like just so great, like wow, he can read me, he sees me as exactly who I am, and that's actually one of the scariest thing that you can experience in dating, because it is so incredibly difficult to detect, for yourself, because you feel blown away. You're like, wow, I've met the one. And right now, obviously, super hot topic. It's all over Netflix with, like, for example, the show what's his name? I wrote it down. Simon Leviev, the Tinder swindler.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the Tinder swindler.
Yeah, or the puppet master, and we're all watching it so like excited, but also with a lot of question marks. But it happens to a lot of people. There are a lot of like guys, but also women, of course, out there, but mostly guys, who are these kind of manipulators, and they are extremely like great in pretending. It's a way of pretending and luring you in. So these were my thoughts to this.
Yeah, they make you feel, right? They make you feel like, oh my gosh, you're my soulmate. But
yeah,
like honestly, that's kind of a far-fetched fantasy. That's not something down on earth. And your soulmate is going to make mistakes. Like a healthy relationship, sometimes you're not going to like them. You love them still, but you don't like them because you're two different people. And when you're in that unhealthy relationship and the dating, and they're always perfect, that's just a huge red flag.
Then I have to say, that makes a great deal of sense. You may not like something that they may do in the moment, though you have an affection for them. That's normally the way families work, right? I mean, with siblings, you may not like what they do in the moment, but hey, that's still my sibling. That's still my family. Well, when a person is in a relationship, that's going to happen. But when that person is perfect all the time, all men are little boys. You're speaking to one right now. Every single one. And so to give the impression that you're perfect and that you have it all together, it's just not real. I don't want to get on my soapbox this early in the morning.
Can I say another thought that just popped in my head about that?
Yes.
We all, maybe you don't know, but narcissists don't apologize. So especially in the dating first phases, they have to be perfect. So they don't have to be put in that position to not apologize and start to do all their tactics, because they know they have to win you over before they do the tactics. And then, they have to be perfect. So they don't apologize, because they won't.
That's true. But they have also certain phrases they use. I feel especially in the beginning, when you date them, then they say things like, I want to spoil you. You deserve it. We are meant to be together. And they quite quickly jump to you are the one, the woman of my life. So these are red flags. You can really yourself, when you go on a date, first date, second date, third date, if he drops one of those, just be aware, like don't jump right away when he says I love you. Like you can say that after date 5,
It's not a good
Slow
sign.
down.
Slow. What'd you say? Say it again, Raven.
Slow down.
Yeah, just matter of fact, just wear a shirt that says that, or just have something that you can just pull out and just put it on the table to slow down. Okay, just slow down. Let's see here. I've got something for you here. Let me see. Let me put that up there. Number 2.
I really like the comment that was posted that went away about the Disney
movies.
Wait,
hold on. No, we'll get it back from Doobie. Disney
Doobie,
movies
right.
are so full of consensual moves made by men. Go ahead. You were going to say.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's part of my anger was, mine was very, like, it just was so manipulative. And so you're raised as a child watching those movies about like, it's just okay. Or, it was never talked about as a child. Like I raised my children differently, but you have to be polite as a kid. You need to hug, to say goodbye. Like all these really like personal boundary things that aren't asked for consent. That's something we should be teaching. Yeah, we should be teaching our children now. Hey, even with family members, especially as toddlers, and then going up, do you want a high five or you want a hug to say goodbye? Like get consent from the child, because that is teaching non-consensual intimacy in relationships. Then that allows this person to swoop you in. You're my soulmate. They swoop in and they stick their tongue in your mouth and you're like, oh my gosh, but okay, like I have to be polite, and all this stuff just snowballs.
Healthy boundaries. Totally. Yeah. Learning them from the start. That's very important.
we're looking at sometimes, not every woman, but a number of women can find themselves that this is information they've never had anyone share with them, let alone teach them, because of not having really good caregivers, family dynamics where they had strong women who were able to stand their ground when it comes to who they are. But the way a man behaves with strangers, because when he meets you, you're a stranger. The way he behaves with strangers says a lot. With the way he treats you as a woman, as well as the way he treats others. What points did you gather out of that? The way he behaves with unknown people.
Well, I gathered that you can. I'm sorry. You can see.
Don't worry. Go ahead.
You can see, like, just try and remove yourself from the emotion and observe how they treat others at the restaurant. Let's say he takes you out to dinner. Is he kind of snubbing them? Is he not saying thank you? Is he having this air of like he's above them? Because is he how well is he tipping? Is he being empathetic to, wow, like I really respect that they're putting themselves out on the line, they're working, and you know there's a feeling in a person to show respect versus to not show respect. And for me, mine was like he was above everybody. And I should have picked up on the signs because they were there in all the interactions with everyone out in the public. How about you, Caroline?
Yeah, I agree. Like someone who's toxic, or we can also be more specific, narcissistic, for example, would expect always royal treatment. So they would approach also others that way. If like, I deserve better, they put themselves like on a pedestal of like, they put others down, they belittle them, from the waitress to someone who would just, be on the street. They comment always in a negative way so that they look themselves better. And they have also no empathy. So if someone is running late because the waitress is very busy, they would not have an understanding of seeing the restaurant busy. They would be like, no, I deserve the treatment right now. Maybe they would even refer, if they had like a celebrity friend or, like anyone who is important, say like, I have this friend, I'm friends with X, Y, Z, therefore I deserve. So they're always seeking for that social status sort of connection with themselves, and that everyone is below them. And these are really like red flags to see, like, is he having an inflated self? Is it just that he's cocky and like it's all about me, or are also other people treated in a nice way? Because he will treat you nice because you're right now maybe the target, but when you just observe him with the others, there you see it like clearly. It's also in a traffic jam. If he picks you up with the car, you're on a date, and every other minute he's shouting or swearing at the others, and it's always someone else's fault.
Good point. That's very good. Always blowing the horn. Would you say, Ray?
I agreed with you. That's a really good point.
Yeah, the traffic thing, that's a really good point too. I'm glad you put that in there. I'm just sitting there thinking about people right now that I know like that. So,
I mean, it's not everyone is like that, Like,
I know what you mean.
These are just small red flags because, of course, it's really difficult to detect. And for example, I did not know this. Like, I always cut in people's slack because when you're on a date, you always think like, yeah, maybe he had a busy day, or or in a longer relationship, you make excuses for them. But actually, look at what's really happening. How are they towards others? Because it gets only worse from there.
Good point. Good point.
Mine did not honk or yell, but he had a really fast car, so he would just zip around and he would cut people off and drive really fast. So there's those two signs.
Life insurance policy, no doubt you needed when you got in the car with him. God.
I had angels watching over me every time I was in that car. We would go out after drinking and drive the dark mountainside at like 90 miles per hour.
Is that in your book? I'm just curious.
No, actually. Yes. It is. It is.
I don't remember that part in your book. Okay.
It's not the story. It's just a very poetic depiction of that story. Yeah.
Okay. So
I have one for everybody. I have one.
Yes. No. Go ahead. Please. Yes.
The pedestal. She said the word pedestal, and I just watched the first part of the HBO with Evan Michelle Woods and Marilyn Manson, and this whole concept of the pedestal. You know, they prey on those who look up to them, and again, they look down from their pedestal on people. So it's almost like an unconscious way that they energetically attract their quote unquote, we call them the victim, but it's really just that interaction. Like they love to be worshipped. So yeah, of course they're going to draw you in, and they're going to do their manipulative tactics. And it's this whole air of like, I'm better than everyone. And they kind of catch some of us who may have our self-esteem low. Like you said, we don't have parents to really teach us that this is not appropriate behavior or not talk about it. And then you get sucked into worshiping them, and then all of a sudden you're in their vortex. You're like, I am going crazy. Get me out.
You get caught up in the ability and the freeness to forgive behavior, but later on finding out that the behavior that you're forgiving is very toxic. It's very dangerous to you in the long run. And they start to recognize you're not going to get that pushback, that normal human pushback, and say, hey, wait a minute, hold on a second. Let's be a little bit more forgiving of that person the same way you want forgiveness. And that opens up a whole can of worms. And here they come because they're upset with their narcissistic behavior or traits. And now they're going to attack you or project onto you. When dealing with a man, you have been in these situations. But how did it make you emotionally feel when you were in those moments? I know we've been describing situations. We've been describing behavior of what the man is doing. But when you were in those moments, just briefly, how did you feel emotionally when you were living those experiences, if you can lay that out for some young woman who is just now stepping into that type of behavior?
You could tell, like, by my body language, I felt so uncomfortable. It was like,
I saw that. Yeah.
I'm back in there. I'm like, it was like wiggling like there's snakes all over you. You're like, oh my God, this is so awkward. Like, stop yelling at that person or stop doing this. So then you start to make excuses. You try and diffuse it. You try and be the peacemaker, when really they should just be held accountable and like booted. What do you think about that, Caroline?
I actually exactly had the same reaction. Physically, I felt like just sort of like
shoulders
everything
go
in my
up.
body was like
Neck tenses.
It's this. You are literally walking on eggshells around that person, even in public, because eventually you're like, let's just hope we can go through the day without any embarrassment, or you walk through I had always like, we had neighbor issues all the time. So I was like, let's hope we're not going to meet a neighbor. So it's like, because it would escalate. It was escalate, and on a bad day, like some people were also, cannot control because they're very impulsive. So it can also end up very physical. And then you're like in the middle of it. And as a girlfriend or young woman, you feel helpless. And because your partner or your date, it doesn't matter, but it's more, let's say it's your partner, you feel like responsible. You also feel that connection, obviously. So it's kind of like, it's partly not you, but he's kind of like, you chose to be with him, right? So you feel like you have to defend him. So as a good partner, you have to stand up for him, even if there's a lot of wrongdoing on his side. Wow. So you feel like you have to cross your own boundaries, because deep down, this is maybe not okay. That's too much. That's crossing someone's boundary. But because you feel that it's your partner, you have to align with someone you would not normally not align. And that's internally such a conflict. That drains you emotionally also, because then you get that tendency of thinking, oh God, how can I address it with him? That it's not going to happen again, but he would obviously not hear you. So you start having this internal conflict within yourself. And that's where it then continues or starts.
That brings up another point in the article about you feeling like they need you. And I think it goes through all the different phases they bring you through. It's like this beautiful honeymoon phase, and then this like starting to kind of project things onto you phase, and then turning your brain around against yourself,
Mhm.
Now you're getting into the explosive phase, and you feel like, oh, well, they almost put you in this weird mom role. It's like you're a mom, you're a romantic partner. So
Yeah.
you feel responsible for them, to cover for them out in public, to cover for them with your people who are saying, leave this loser. And you're like, no, he just needs this. He just needs that. And it puts you in this, it's just a horrible situation. And you're not responsible for him. Can I just say, like, you are not his mother. That's
Yeah.
her job. And if she failed, then that's not on you. You
Yeah,
can be free from that.
if he doesn't
Yeah,
step
good
out,
one.
if he doesn't step outside of his little boy role and step into manhood
Yeah.
and become a partner, a leader of a team that is trying to build, then he's going to act the way you've been describing. He's going to act in such a way that he just drains you of any dignity, any peace of mind. You don't feel secure. I like the way you described it, Caroline. It's like you hope you didn't run into the neighbors. You just hope you didn't run into anybody that he's going to fight with, because you don't know when he's going to eventually turn around and attack you, because he's attacking everybody else outside. It's just a matter of time before he ends up attacking you. Any other points that you pulled out of the article?
Not on this one, but I want to maybe add one more thing, because you just said it, like he will turn eventually towards you, right, the partner. And that's also the problem in itself, because eventually you hit that point of like, of course it's aimed at others, but once you're at home, you're also held responsible for what happened. So if you go into a conversation approaching it as like an adult, saying what happened out there or what happened with another person, in the end it will be spun in a way that it's your fault because you suggested to go out, for example.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
totally.
it's that mind twisting.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's really
100%,
important to mention.
okay.
100%, Caroline. Yeah.
How do you handle that if you're not a person that wants to sit there and have an argument for 5-6 weeks on something? You just ignore it then. Is that what you're saying? So you just let it go, and that's probably what they want. Or how do you try to handle that as a woman when you're dealing with an immature person like that?
I think in the beginning you try, but you learn your lesson relatively quickly, that you choose your fights, because it's the one who's suffering is you. And no matter how often you, in what ways, and that's the tricky and anxiety also triggering part, because you will think you have to work on yourself, because he will make you feel you have started the argument also wrong, or the discussion, you approached it the wrong way. So you question over time. It's a time span of weeks, months, can be years, but you are the one working on yourself. So you constantly reflect, because that's what adults, healthy, let's say, people do. We reflect. We kind of like think, okay, in a relationship, they're two to tango, right? So I'll do my part, and you always hope the other person will do it too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If you're the only one doing it, and you get always the feedback of it's you, look, it's you, and they point out very, very, very good also. That's the manipulative genius, I always say. They manage to pinpoint down things, facts, things you might have said, and they confuse you so much that you start doubting yourself. And the self-doubt that's what's eating you up.
Yeah.
The self-doubt is what's eating. I'm going to use me. So the self-doubt is what would be eating me, because we're trying to be that strong, capable, competent partner, but they're using facts that they've stored away and thrown them all together to create this confusion. That actually reminds me, I'm looking at, where is it? Here it is. I'm going to put this on the screen. Look what Brian says. Essentially agreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Brian Reed says, I would end up apologizing for my own abuse. That's like what you just said, Caroline.
It's awful. Yeah. Can totally feel you, Brian. That's probably Raven would see also nods. I can see it.
Yeah.
We all who have experienced it, it's such a pattern. And we're all I
would come back like a normal human being, a healthy, right? Like reflecting. Right. I'm just a normal, like after a fight, the next morning we go for a walk. What happened? What can, how can we do something different moving forward. What is the source of our problem? Because it kept coming up because he just kept doing his same old BS. And it always was literally like a 2-hour conversation as we're walking, to him just pointing everything back to me. Well, only if you do this, it'll be fixed. Only if you do this, then it'll be fixed.
Yeah.
And I would take it upon 100% of myself. Like, oh, okay. And it was just this huge, deep philosophical mind F, really. And then I was like, I have to take responsibility for it. And then I would end up apologizing. Okay, all right, next time I'll do it this way.
You have Caroline, go ahead. I just got to put this up. You have another one here agreeing with you.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is also that a lot of times you also, when you have these conversations, like for example, you had Raven with your partner, then a lot of times you get also empty promises. So there's a lot of talk, and they then also, if because eventually you hit also a point of frustration, right? So that you also get mad, or you maybe want to end the relationship. But that's the point where they hold sort of like you back. They kind of lure you in again. They give you all the promises in the world. They tell you, I'm going to change. I'm going to do everything. It can be from, I'm going to therapy if it's really serious stuff, or to, I'm going to, honey, for you, I'll do everything, Mm-hmm. But then here's the important part. Make a note. I wish I had, because it's so mind-twisting. Write these things down that he had said on the date, because eventually, a month, 6 months, a year later down the line, he never said that, apparently, in another argument.
Oh, yeah.
Or he will never follow up on the things he said. So it's always empty words and no action. It's just every time the same thing happening all over. So that's practical advice here. Make notes of things that you've said or he had said or yet you guys agreed on. And then you have reference points.
I love that.
Speaking of reference point, let's go back to our article that we're referencing here from themindsjournal.com. This is great information that you ladies are laying out. Again, the audience that is watching these shows, from what we're being informed, the analytics is showing us is predominantly millennials, Gen X, and Gen Zs. A lot of individuals who are just now stepping into the mental health field and relationships and recovery. So I appreciate everything that's been said so far. And thank you so much to Doobie as well as Brian for being here and participating. Here goes a picture. Now, in the article that Falcon writes here, he highlighted the fact that, sometimes there's never-ending sob stories. It's a red flag, one of the 16. Sometimes an individual, a man, we also can find this in a female as well. He does allude to that at some point in the article. But sometimes there's a never-ending sob story to pull you in. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say this is definitely gender neutral, just from my personal experience.
I didn't say it. I tried to be very diplomatic as I laid it out there.
I am a woman. I will admit it. No, I think, and this is the part where they play the victim to get everyone to be on their side. Have you ever watched that movie where this is the villain in the movie, but they cry, they do this fake cry, and they're like, oh, everyone's against, and Inventing Anna. Have you seen that? So she's literally putting on a show. My daddy won't talk to me. He cut me off financially. Like this is their play.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Did it sound like her?
Acting, that's pretty good. No, I've never seen it, but that was pretty good. I was ready for the next line.
This is exactly what she said. And so she's getting her friend to front the credit card for this hotel room because she has zero money and all this debt. And she has no father. He's not an heiress billionaire. And so she's like literally breaking down and crying. And that's her play. And so he fronted his credit card and on she went. Like she just did that over and over. So it's the same sob story. It's the same repeated cycle. And it gets old if you are real to it and you don't have empathy. But you have to balance your empathy because they play on the human empathy.
I had, first of all, totally nicely said, very nicely said. For me, when I read the article, first thing that popped into my head, and it sounds like a little bit harsh, but pity is not love; it's charity. That was
Wait,
my
say that
thought.
again. That was good. Say it again.
Pity is not love; it's charity.
Wow.
And if someone sits in front of you pitying themselves, first of all, I felt like I feel like it's a lack of self-worth, sort of slash low self-esteem, but also it is a lack of self-reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you only pity yourself, then you kind of also like point out that everyone else around you is making you miserable, but you don't own anything of part of
No
this.
accountability. You're not
No.
I was
responsible.
going to say, they don't take
Yeah.
responsibility. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
But a lot of people fall for it because it's like it makes you also feel special. If someone, it feels like, oh, that person opened up to me. That person is sharing the dark secrets or the dark sides of them, and that makes you feel, if you're the other side, feel like special because you feel like, wow, he shares this with me, so maybe I can help. So the helper syndrome jumps in, and that makes a lot of women, especially, but also men. They like to be the savior. The sort of like, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna, make your life perfect. So it's like that is what stimulates in the other person. So but it is a red flag. Pity, and like I said it before, is not love. It's just a charity that you give to someone to watch out.
That's a form of manipulation, them doing that. I put it up on the screen. Everybody please give a wave if you can toward the screen to Doobie. Doobie said, I'm sorry, I have to shoot for dinner. I'll catch up after.
Aw.
Have a lovely day, evening, and weekend. What I was going to mention was, thank you so much, Doobie, for that. And feel free to, of course, enjoy this as a replay on our Narc Abuse TV channel. What I was going to mention is, when it comes to a person essentially manipulating, a man manipulating, and Raven, you said Actress of the Year award can go to some women, manipulating others with needy stories, looking for pity, as you highlighted, Caroline. What does that do for you when you've been in those situations and someone's doing that and it's a man and that red flag pops up?
Oh, you mean a red flag pops up? Because for me, I would like lean in and be like, oh my gosh, men don't usually cry. Men don't usually like have sob stories. So this must be really like important. But then it kept repeating.
You're so nice and mean at the same time. That's just, I can't believe you. In other words, you're not a man. What's your problem? I like that.
Yeah, Caroline.
Yeah, but to be honest, I would be the same. Obviously in the past. Now I would be like, just okay, thank you. Maybe kindly.
This is not American Idol. This is not The Voice. I don't need a sob story. I'm not voting for you.
No. Then it is in women's nature, I think, also a little bit. But some people are more prone to it. I mean, that's why, for example, a psychologist, I love hearing, people how they feel and fixing or helping and all of those helper syndrome things. But
yeah,
but that was in the past after my experience. Now I would be like listening, but then I would know that's not for me, because then people could go to therapy.
Okay,
Yeah.
So when it comes to a relationship with a man, here's a side question. When it comes to a relationship with a man that you have experienced, just what we've talked about so far, not what we're about to talk about, anything else, but what we've talked about so far, have you experienced any one of those, combination thereof, or all of the above? Look at Caroline's face. Caroline's going like, I gotta be careful. My sister may be listening. My sister's listening. I had that question just for you, Carol. Go ahead. What?
All of the above. All of the above, I would say. Yeah, experienced.
Yeah, Raven. I agree. Yeah. All of the above. All of it. All in a different, unique, formula to that person, but all of the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to all the above. That was really good. That might be a question you could do on your own pages or whatever it may be, or Raven, your channel, the Raven Scott Show channel on YouTube. to ask your subscribers or your followers, which one of these have you personally experienced, and let them just tell the story. You might be able to write a book of what you get back. So I don't know.
Ah.
Go ahead. You were going to say something, Raven?
No, I agree. I've been having a lot of feedback lately and people sharing stories, and it kind of puts a little seed in my head, like maybe I should collect these stories anonymously and put them together in a book.
Yeah, maybe you should, considering that there are a number of men who, how can I put it? Let me put this back up here. Let me do that. Who have several bad relationships because they're control freaks. They take a magnifying glass to you, but yet they themselves have a pattern of bad relationships. The article does highlight that. It talks about that. There is a thought here now we have to put up on the screen, because I love hearing from our dear friend Marnie, the beautiful Marnie. She puts Paxton, Raven, and Caroline, thanks for bringing awareness and having these conversations. Thank you so much. By the way, please, everyone, you need to get Dr. Marnie Hill Cordero books. So just Google it. Please do it. Look, she's got something else for you. Everybody, ladies, please take a look at the screen. She says, yes, write a multi-author book, maybe an anthology about what we're talking about right now. So she's got a point there. I'm sorry. You both should co-author a book about your own experiences and open it up for other women to share their experience. That's a pretty good point. Not that it will be the first one, but it would not be the Raven Caroline collection. You guys should start a collection of co-authored books. I just threw that out there. Thank you, Marnie. Great idea.
Yeah.
You were going to say, I'm sorry, I was speaking. I lost you there in my ear.
No, I'm just running with inspiration. That was one of the points, though, about the bad relationships that I was going to bring up, that really hit me, is because especially look at how he relates to his mother. Does he argue with her? Is he almost like a partner or a husband, like a caregiver to her? Is he overly codependent with his mother? And those are going to be the signs that there's some really unhealthy attachment there. And he's going to try and seek and morph your relationship into that unhealthy, bond. And that's what happened with me.
So you were in a position where he tried to essentially make you mom, so that he could stay in his role that he had.
Physically and emotionally, yeah. Yeah, his mom, he set me up to get like a makeover done by his mom, and she made me look exactly like her. It was really creepy.
Okay, that's creepy.
When I look back at the pictures, I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? Like, I was just trying to look pretty, but like, I look back at the pictures, I swear to God, I look exactly like her. I shopped where she did. My nails were the same. My makeup was the same. My hair was teased like the 80s, just like her, like the same. It's creepy.
I so want to see the pictures. Go ahead, Caroline. You were saying.
I'm a little bit shocked.
Me too.
Sorry. It's like, oh God, but thanks for sharing this. That's really heavy.
Somebody's living that right now, though. Somebody, multiple women, somewhere, they're living that experience right now, and it's considered normal for her to be that way, and she doesn't know any different, because this information, this education is not out there, or she never had anybody ever tell her.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't either. I looked to a book called How to Wear High Heels to try and find guidance to be a woman, which didn't really help me, but I tried. I looked.
No, right.
That's why I'm passionate to share what I've learned.
Yeah, that makes me also think I had also one relationship with a very narcissistic guy, and he always said, I only like women wearing high heels. And I am already tall. I mean, you don't see it, but when I wear heels, I'm like a giraffe. But I ended up only wearing high heels because he would disregard sneakers. He would look at me and be like, God, they're ugly. You look like a man. Or, things like this. And then I would feel like sort of not like a woman, that you want to be feel like obviously your partner's attracted. So you become like obviously a pleaser. You're like, all right, fair enough, I do it for him. But these are things that, or he would refer back to his ex-girlfriend and be like, she had a good body.
What?
By the way, I pointed out on this several weeks, months later. He never been said, but this is what it is. Like, and it stays with you. These things stay with you, and you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I have to change. I have to do something. So it's kind of like in topic boundary crossing. You cross everything yourself that you stand for, or just for the other person.
I would say find a man, like go on your first date with a guy completely like makeupless in your scrubs. Don't even wash your hair. And then if they fall in love with you did?
Yes, literally did it. I tested, unfortunately. That's where I met my narcissist. Being completely makeupless, because obviously then they are so good manipulators, right? So he would pick up on it and just be like, you're a great person, right? But then obviously change later. But
that's true.
That is
mine called me a blank canvas, because obviously I had no makeup too when I met him, because I was like granola girl and wore Birkenstocks. And so he was like, oh my gosh, and he said that to me in the end. He's like, I chose you. It's in my book for this very exact reason. I chose you because you're a blank canvas. I could shape shift you into anything I wanted.
Wow.
And that's awful.
That's creepy.
That was the eye-opening, like, I'm not staying here anymore moment.
That's like Hitler. Like Brian has something for us. You guys are giving me. I'm getting creeped out over here. Some of the stuff you're telling me. I'm gonna make my daughters stay. My two daughters stay in the house all the time now. It's like, nothing's safe. Brian says that works both ways. My female narcissist couldn't stand your mother. Believe it or not, I feel like I was her mother. So everyone has a very unique and different experience, but the theme of the experience, the pattern of behavior is the same. You're not good enough, and I need to change you. And that just doesn't work in the long run based upon what you're saying.
Yeah, Brian, it's a mother thing. The Dalai Lama says that the ultimate showcase for a child learning compassion and empathy is from the mother. So if there's narcissism already in the mother, if there's flaws, if she's wounded and she doesn't love herself, and it gets passed on and how she relates and loves and shows compassion to her children, that's where that hiccup comes in. So always look at what the relationship is with our mother.
There's some information there on the screen as well. Feel free to address that if you like, from our friend Dr. Marnie Hill.
Yeah. What is it with high heels? It's such a dominant, like male authoritarian, like, I guess
it really is. It is really, it's fascinating.
Men
I
invent high heels in the first place.
Considering that I'm a man, I can easily address that.
Please.
No, I can easily address that. It would take the entire show for me to say it in a very diplomatic way, but I'll cut to the chase. Here we go. Men find certain aspects of the female body attractive.
Yeah.
Things were made to accentuate those, heels being one of the ones that accentuate predominantly the feet, the ankle, and the calf.
Yeah.
And it moves from there. So some men have not grown to appreciate a woman for what's at the top of her body, her brain. So therefore, they gravitate to the very, as it were, superficial, fleshly aspects of the woman instead of who she is. So when it comes to high heels, that's as close as I can really get to. If not, it'll take away from everything we're talking about here. And we've gone 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But any man.
It's objectifying, right?
Say it again.
It's objectifying.
It's objectifying.
A certain aspect of the human body, not the person. So yes, in essence, the answer is yes. But it's objectifying not the total woman. Why? Because they immediately will compare you to another woman. So they're objectifying that, and actually here it goes. Because see, I told you we could end up going, but my friend Marnie is laying it out. I'm just trying to stutter my way through this because we're going to go in a whole nother direction that I love to talk about, and I'm going to have upcoming shows on pornography addiction. But
Yeah.
If there was, but before there was pornography, it still is an aspect of shallow men. That doesn't mean it doesn't make you look well or it's a compliment to you. It may compliment you and highlight certain aspects. That's what clothes do. They either hide or highlight. They do one of the two. They bring attention to and highlight something, or they hide something that you don't want to bring attention to. That's what clothes do. But when a man or a woman may feel that way when it comes to, a man having an open shirt all the time. There's a lot of things that come into play. So when we're talking about high heels, listen, we're going to have to do a show on it now. So you guys, don't start something, because I'll finish it. We'll go ahead and have a show on this, because this aspect of the 16 flags that were talked about by Falcon in his article in the Minds Journal, mindsjournal.com, he has to be given credit because he highlights some things that, like we've been talking about. We haven't even touched half of them yet. So this aspect of high heels and why that's important and what a woman is wearing, I have to go back again to our friend, the doctor here. She says her experience: my ex wanted me to wear specific clothing items. When you got a man that does that, there's something wrong with him. That's different than complimenting a woman and saying, you know what, when you wear that, you make that look good. That's different. I can say that because my father used to tell my mother that. And I was young. I go like, okay, that's just weird what he just said. But my mother would be, I couldn't see her for like two weeks because she'd be on cloud 17. Like, why is she like walking around so stinking happy? Because she didn't go pick something for him to just like. She began to recognize it added to her self-esteem and highlighted what she wanted to highlight about herself. So her dignity was able to stay in place. But when a man is taking clothing and the only way you can have dignity is because you wear that clothing, but if you wear sneakers, you're less of a person, that's a pathetic man. That's what I don't want to get. I'm getting on the soapbox. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow.
No, seriously, I'm like, amen, 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 amen.
So it's just, I've got daughters. They get tired. They probably get tired. They don't get tired, but I get on my soapbox here in the house or stuff. So anyhow, what we are talking about is this aspect of a man having several bad relationships, a control freak, the type of man who technically, here's the next one. One of the things that he highlights in his article, that man lacks confidence. He has no self-confidence, but he tries to portray that he does by controlling or being a control freak over you as a woman. What are the points that you get from that section of the article?
Yeah, it's just projection, which is the narcissist game. It's just, I think of my friend. I have a friend who I just recorded an episode on. She'll be on the show. But she experienced physical and emotional abuse. And the point where she woke up is, she was dancing and playing with her kids to music. They were like toddlers. And they were having such a good time preparing for dinner. And they heard the garage door start to open. And the little boy, he was like 4, and his eyes got wide. He shut the music off. Wow. He cleaned everything up. He put his broom away, and he sat down at the table, stone cold statue, quiet. And he said, Daddy's home. We got to get everything ready. And that's the moment where she said, this has got to end, that control freak and his lack of confidence, or whatever his was. I don't know his psyche, but they all have their different modes of operating in life. And if they can't control their family and they can't control themselves, they can't feel like they can control their career, their environment, and be successful. When they self-doubt, they start to control what they can, right? That's the weaker people in their life or their family or their kids. And it's very detrimental. So it's just so sad to see children, reacting that way. And it happens all the time.
Agreed. And when I read it, I was thinking actually about this point quite a lot, because I was thinking, first of all, when you read it, you think, okay, everyone has insecurities and it's kind of normal in any relationship, but there's such thing as like chronic low self-esteem, and that stems more like from, let's say, can be for example childhood trauma, rejection of family members or friends, or bullying. There's a lot of things that could be ongoing. But if you're in a relationship with someone who is lacks self-confidence, is low in self-esteem, and then they say to you, I love you, and then I was thinking, that's like a naked person offering me a shirt.
Oh, wow.
It's
What an analogy. That's pretty good.
it is they have to learn first to love themselves, but that cannot be you. You cannot help them or fix that. So it's really it is in the beginning, maybe you feel like, hey, I want to help or something, but you cannot. And you give a lot on your side, or off of your time, your energy. So it's draining for you, of course, to reassure the person, or to give that feedback, or the validation, sort of like external validation that person constantly asks you as the partner in the relationship. But that's the honeymoon phase we talked about earlier. You give everything to that person, and that person just takes it. But they might resent you later, because we all fall back into also focusing what's important for us, right? To our own needs. So if you do that, 6 months, a year later, it doesn't matter the time frame really, but the minute you start also looking back onto, what do I need in this relationship, they might start resenting you for it, because they need so much of you that they can also not give you what you need. So it becomes very, very, very challenging and difficult. These were my thoughts a little bit on it.
The vicious cycle.
A vicious cycle you just mentioned. I love your thoughts on it. Do you remember when this was something you experienced, if you experienced it? Giving so much, recognizing that this person is constantly taking, and there's no way you can add to their self-confidence.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, like I said, you happily do it, because when you're in love, you do it, right? You do probably more than you normally would or should. But eventually, like that, you hit that point of like, it's kind of like just pouring water down the drain. It just, there's you will never get anywhere. So it is not sinking in. You can try again, whatever you do. So it's just, eventually you just become hopeless and a little bit like helpless and clueless. Sort of, it raises just a lot of question marks, and then again you're starting just to doubt yourself.
Did you start to find yourself not taking care of yourself, not being motivated? Did you find yourself trying to escape emotionally, or were others trying to tell you, hey, look, this is not going well?
When you're around someone who is, has a low self-esteem, they obviously have also a little bit of a negative energy around them. That's how I experienced it, always a bit negative, a little bit on the heavy side.
Yeah, right.
You try to lift this up, maybe being overly positive. That's also very energy draining for yourself. But a lot of people with low self-esteem have initially also that negative self-talk, right? So they see everything a little bit through different glasses. They can see you can see the sunset as something beautiful, or you can be frustrated that it's already morning, right? So they would choose that, oh, damn it, it's morning. And I would say, wow, look at this beautiful sunset, let's get up for the day. So it's just that's kind of slowly merges into your life, that negativity. And it's something, I mean, there's a lot of like motivational speakers about like, you should always be positive and so on and so on. You cannot, I find that also a bit toxic, because not every situation you can look at with a positive set of eyes. But of course, if it's constantly also the negative set of eyes, that can have a very like negative effect on you. And that's also calling a boundary for yourself again. If that's too much, then you have to remove yourself a little bit. So of course, I personally eventually became a little bit numb. Let's say I just shut myself off from emotions, because it becomes then too much.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was very, I didn't really even realize he lacked self-confidence. And he was so entwined with his dad. Like, he didn't have a real job. He relied on his dad for the job. He relied on his dad for income. So it was like this weird, like, recycling of his money. And then we rented from his dad. So everything was like, oh, I'll pay you, and then I'll just take the money right back. Like, it's really awful codependent thing.
Never get to touch money. Never.
No. So I was the one making the real money. And anytime I wanted to like change because it was really stressful, I'm not very good at sales, yada, yada. Like, I just don't want to do this job anymore. It was like, no, you can't leave. Like, his self-confidence was so low. He was so dependent that on his dad that there was the control where I couldn't even make my own life career choices. And yeah, I hated it. That on top of the abuse, I just turned to alcohol. Like, I heavily relied on it, and then I started drinking it during lunch because like I hate my job and I can't leave it. Like, you feel so put in such a hole, like a box.
Did you felt trapped, if I may ask? Yeah.
I felt trapped. That's kind of why I numbed myself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize that I had the power within me to choose. I just had to leave. I had to get that courage to leave, to regain the power back and have the freedom in my life that I had. Like, I had it. It was in me.
There's a lot of people, a lot of women who may feel just as trapped and don't recognize what you just mentioned, that they actually have the power within themselves. Caroline, as a psychologist, you've no doubt experienced a number of situations when you're talking with others that they feel trapped.
Yeah, I think when you experience that feeling of being trapped, I've personally also experienced it. So, you, Raven, you have experienced it. I think we all cope differently, of course. That's one thing. I think realizing that what's going on is the hardest. It's a very, very tricky one, to be honest, because Raven, you got out of it, I got out of it, but I'll be very honest, whoever is stuck right now, and I can relate, it's not that you can just do it in a blink of an eye and you're like, I'm doing it, I have all the power and I'm super powerful and strong. You have to grow that first. You have to first turn inward and start the healing journey, even while you're in this toxic, stuck situation. And that's a challenge. I mean, Raven, you probably have had it as well. I had it as well with people I talked to, that what to do. So you have to have a bit of an action plan, even though you're already kind of like half drowning. And that's kind of challenging, because the island, that safe island, seems very far away, and you're kind of out of breath, you're exhausted, but then someone says to you, but you keep swimming. Keep swimming, girl. It's like, it sounds easy from that island, shouting over, just keep swimming, don't worry. But it is really, it's not like that. So you need some sort of life saver, as sort of like, I always call like this swimming ring, sort of, or a safety vest, to kind of at least keep you above waters. And there are certain things that you should be doing. Sort of, I think that's also great. What I love about this show is to create awareness, and that people start talking about it, so that it can first of all happen to anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you do for a living. I had doctors. I'm Scottish myself. Raven, you're also an expert. Like a professional working woman. It can happen literally to everyone. So that's one thing. And then just start communicating. Be open. Be honest. Talk to people. Get some support. You can even reach out to me, probably also to Raven, or to you, Paxton, to not stay silent, to not suffer in silence. I think that's something so important, and that I did, for example, way too long. That gets you into deep depression. Can make you hopeless to the extent of suicidal thoughts. It goes into worlds that we wouldn't imagine, what psychological abuse or also physical abuse, of course, can do.
Absolutely. To you. Absolutely. And that aspect of feeling suicidal and getting depressed to the point that it becomes chronic, these are actual things that are taking place, maybe even to you if you're listening to this right now or watching us right now. This is why it's very important to reach out to someone. You may have missed the red flags, and you may want to lean into beating yourself up over missing the red flags. Agreed, ladies? That can happen. A person can start to really pound themselves over the head. How could I miss that? Why did I let this go on? And the reality of it is, you may need to reach out to someone so that your emotional center of gravity can restore itself. Your emotional compass can right itself. You just may need some help and some encouragement. And these two beautiful ladies that are here, and I say that term beautiful, and I throw this out to everyone. I say that because I'm looking at who they are coupled with how they take care of themselves. And a narcissist, an individual who is manipulative, an individual who doesn't have confidence in themselves will look to tear down both of those things. Who you are inside, the beauty, as well as the way you take care of yourself. Before you know it, you're just like them. That's why these red flags that we're talking about today is very important. Raven, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to add on to that is they want to steal your light. They're attracted to your beautiful light, your shining, radiant soul. Usually you're pure, you're open, you think everyone is kind and good, and they're attracted to that and they want that light. So protect your light, protect your heart and your mind, and know that it's not a one and done. Caroline's right. I did not just decide one day I'm going to leave. It took me 7. I was on my 8th attempt to leave, that I had to actually sign something legal that I wasn't going to leave that apartment. I didn't go to some family member's house and then go back the next day that I did 7 other times before. So it's your own process. It's not going to be overnight. And Caroline's right. Reach out to somebody to gain that emotional support to carry you through.
There are a number of scheming individuals. These 16 red flags that Falcon talks about in his article from the Minds Journal, themindsjournal.com. You can take a look at it. Red flags, 16 red flags. Now, by the way, I don't think I mentioned it. I think Raven did on a posting that she did. These red flags, these 16, these were described by men talking about men. It wasn't somebody who just had these experiences. These are men, and that's why I really wanted to go over this article, because these are men warning women about men. And they're very spot on. I tell you that as a guy. They're very spot on. These are things that, whether it be in a locker room, to a boardroom, to a billiard table, wherever it may be that men are, they know that these things are true that are highlighted in this article. And so, ladies, beware. Take a look at the article, pull out what works for you, and ignore the rest if you so need to. Many men can find themselves, I'll put the ticker down at the bottom with this statement here that is a part of the article. He talks about scheming men, a man that's a scheming type of a man. That's talked about in the article. But before we get to that, there were a couple of things I wanted to put up here on the screen. Marnie highlights this. I want us to touch on it briefly because it does play for some. Scheming men who are abusers, manipulators, often end up, when they're in a relationship, if the red flag is missed, they're the same type of person who likes to alienate others. They'll keep you isolated. Parental alienation can come up. She also highlights this fact: you are chosen by these abusers, very similar to what you were highlighting as well. And I just saw this right now. And thank you, Marnie. Scheming, as Paxton would say, knuckleheads. It's a down south reference from Arkansas. My father was from Arkansas. He used to say knuckleheads or troublemakers. But when it comes to scheming men, have you ever had to deal with a scheming man?
Yeah.
No
I.e.
names, no names, no
I.e.
names.
the narcissist.
Please, no names.
No
I don't want to get
names. No
sued.
names. I.e. the narcissist. No, when I saw this in the article, I thought immediately to grooming. I thought immediately to, right? Is that what you're going to say too,
Same,
Caroline?
exactly the same. First word, grooming.
Grooming. Yeah. And what is grooming, right? Because even my, beautiful partner now, he's like, I know what all this stuff is, but I didn't know it's called grooming. So here's what it is. It's a predatory act of maneuvering another individual into a position that makes them more isolated, dependent, likely to trust, and more vulnerable to abusive behavior.
I love it.
And that's what they're doing.
I love it. Love it.
They're like, just like I said, they're attracted to your light. They're attracted to if you want to call it naivety, maybe you're naive, maybe you're not. They are attracted to smart and successful women as well, because they see that you have strength, yet they make sure that you're highly empathetic, right? That you're a very caring person. You're a giver. And then they just take. They take and they take. Right, Caroline?
Exactly. You said everything that I had also in my mind. Exactly that.
I just have to ask, when it comes to your friends and your female friends, is that a part of a conversation that you may have with them or have had, where you ladies are getting around and you're talking about scheming men and the things that they do?
Yeah, I think now more than before, but definitely I speak to my friends very honest, and like, for example, if a friend of mine, it's not all of them are married, some of them are single and some of them are dating, we are talking very openly about it, and we actually also
okay, that's
give them a bit of a list about it, like check out like if he's really like not a narcissist or something. So
that's my next one. Okay, so married or single, that was one of the things, but you touched on it. I was going to get to that too, but a list, just right now in the moment, a couple of things that you know from reference to talking with your friends that have popped into your head, and you're going to warn some young lady. She's just turned 18, 19, and he seems like the guy. He's the guy. And he just makes her walk on clouds. But there's something you recognize that he does that's a part of that list from you talking with your friends. What's on the list that she should be aware of?
I think exactly what we talked about earlier. If he is too good to be true, if things seem to be, talking about the soulmate here, if he feels like after first date or second date, soulmate, and he's just all over you, and he's Prince Charming, like I said, that is a red flag. That's like something to watch out for. If he is having maybe this extreme self-esteem, if he's not sharing, is he a bit secretive about his family or friends or parents, like especially those like where he's come from, his upbringing, or if you ask specific questions. My first thing is always ask specific questions. If he tells you a story, ask very specific about certain things, maybe location, like there are certain things that you can call him out on, but it takes an expert, obviously lesson learned the hard way, to know. But so if now the 18-year-old girl would come to me and say he's perfect, I would be also check his Instagram.
Very good, very good.
So that's I think that's the first thing to do, right? Check Instagram, TikTok, what else there is. If that's already too good to be true, let's dive deeper, because what is he sharing? Is he only sharing himself there? Are you see friends? What do you see? I mean, that's the perfect way to check someone a little bit, but it gives a bit of about your personality as well.
It's like a page full of selfies. Yeah, that's probably not somebody to continue forward with.
Exactly. Or is he just always in the spotlight?
You guys are funny. Okay, so a page of selfies, and check his social media. How he interacts socially is actually one of the red flags that's highlighted there. If he's the kind of guy that constantly is only talking to women, either in person or through social media, it can really show that he knows how to manipulate the female behavior, and he's intimidated by being around men or males, because they will essentially call him out on it. So great advice. Raven, any thoughts? I'm going to put something up on the screen
Yeah.
while you're talking.
I would want to know, has he talked about his mother? How does he talk about his mother? If you're in a group setting, how does he talk about other girls? Like, is he like
Good
making
point.
jokes?
Absolutely
Is he
great point.
is he making jokes that are demeaning about girls, but he's laughing and making light of it? Is he making a joke even to you, like, oh, you're so, you're so dumb, you're so cute, but you're so dumb? Like, that is a huge red flag. You don't
Yeah.
ever accept that. That means that whatever he's joking about on the surface, tenfold is what he really feels like on the inside. Like, he really doesn't like women. He has an unhealthy relationship with women, and like, just run. Like, don't even go back. That's what I would say. I'm just thinking of like when my daughter's 18, what would I tell her?
Good point. Yeah. Or they also start comparing you a lot with others.
Bingo. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're going to say, but I'm telling you, as a guy, I've told my daughters that many times. That's one of the biggest red flags that you could find. Anything else there, Caroline, on that thought?
Oh no, I was just saying they compare you a lot with other women out there, or just they call you out on it and say, well, that you should maybe try this, or like this. That's also a red flag.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge. From a male's perspective, I say this: ladies, by all means, be very careful when a man wants to say, well, so and so does this, or she wears that, or she responds this way, or my ex, blah, blah. No, 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 no. That is a huge red flag that they're in a different space, time, and continuum, and they're not with you in that moment and in reality with you. They don't even see you because their mind is on something else. That's like leaving work and coming home, and that's all you talk about. You're not really at home. Well, it's the same thing if you're only talking about that ex or that person or that woman on TV or that woman on TV or pornography.
That means they're not over her in the first place. So
Bingo.
therefore,
That's right.
not cool. Like, don't even move forward. And you could say, well, that's great for her, but I'm not her. So why don't you go back to her? Because I'm not that.
Here, let me help you. Let me help you with that. You see this knob here? It turns and then the door opens and you can go that way back to her.
There it is.
There it is. I'm going to put this up. Here, we can do this right here.
I liked what Brian had said about, how all of this really isn't gender related to only men. We're talking about an article about men, yes, but I have many female narcissists in my life, and all of these apply to that too.
We have talked about a number of things. We could keep talking all day, but we're not. We have gone an hour and 19 minutes of talking concerning 16 red flags in a man you should stay away from. An article by Falcon. You can take a look at it and get his last name and look it up. It's the mindsjournal.com. So feel free to take a look at it. I'm looking at this man walking with a red flag and a briefcase. It could seem like if you didn't have, would you say?
I said, I wish they came all like this. It'd be easier to.
I was gonna say, if you take the red flag, everybody's gonna go like, "Ooh, he looks like a good choice for a long-term relationship, marriage," or it could seem very safe. Not so, huh?
He looks like Don Draper.
Oh yeah,
that character in the TV show.
The joys of being an old man in the room. I have no idea who you're talking about, but anyhow, I'm so out of the loop. But he looks like he could be a safe choice if you didn't see the red flag. The red flag is not often seen. You've experienced a number of things. Dr. Hill is highlighting, agreeing with Brian as both of you have done. Abusers are not limited by gender or roles. So now I get to this part of the show before we end. How would you say, words of advice, a person should go about protecting themselves? One or two things to give a summary. We only wanted to touch on a few of these red flags. Everybody else can go take this reference material and go from there. What would you say?
I think you need to approach every relationship out of curiosity and with the mindset that you could succeed and flourish and thrive without them, right? I think you really need to be established in your self-worth and your self-love like a rock solid. And then you can approach dating and relationships out of curiosity and almost like with a bird's eye view, like, oh, that's interesting. He said this, and you can kind of analyze it. If you're so entrenched in being accepted, feeling loved, like getting your self-esteem cup filled by another person in your dating relationship, you're setting yourself up for failure. It's like going out to battle without a helmet and armor on and no gun. Like you got nothing. You're just going out there like, hey, come love me.
Yeah,
and
right.
therefore you might just get trapped in a net. You might get shot down, whatever it is. But that would be my biggest overall key advice. What about yours, Caroline?
That was beautiful said, by the way, Raven. Really nice. Personally, I agree with you. I would probably say almost exactly the same. I think before I'm gonna go a bit more step into before you start dating, do the work with yourself, because the self-love and the self-worth, or also self-awareness that you touched on, is so incredibly important, but yet so powerful. If you know your own worth, that's not arrogant. I mean, like your internal like worth, and you know what you need, what your real needs are, what's going on inside of you. If you have, for example, things that bother you, if you're anxious or something, or other things you struggle with, don't try to find the reassurance in someone else. Do your own work. So resolve that first. Start loving yourself. And when you love yourself, you already send a total other energy to the other side. It's not the self-confidence per se, but it's that inner feeling content. And that in itself is, let's say, for a narcissist already a red flag. So he probably wouldn't dare to date you, so to speak.
Yeah.
But maybe try. But then you can rely on your gut feeling. And I think that's what a lot of people ignore, the inner gut feeling. They brush it off a lot. So my advice is work on yourself, prioritize yourself, self-love, self-worth, self-awareness, but also trust your gut. It is a lot of the times exactly right. And don't brush it off.
Wow.
Don't jump right into it. Just think about what's my gut telling me, and try to take a few days even just to let it sit with it.
The few days can make a difference. Turn it into 14 days.
Make it
I
slow.
have.
Slow.
Yeah.
Wait, no, Raven, say it again. Say it again.
Slow down.
Yeah, I'll tell you that.
Totally.
You need a T-shirt. That says that.
It's a good one. It's
Slow
a good
down.
one. I think that's true, especially these days with dating being also very rushed. Swipe left, swipe right, DM me, etc., etc. You can be even overwhelmed in the dating world. So if you take it slow, like Raven's slogan, I think that is the way to go.
Yeah, it really is. Both of you have been amazing today to join me in my, how can I put it? In my studio, my virtual studio, when I'm still waking up. Raven caught me first. I had no makeup on. I hadn't shaved my legs yet. I hadn't done my hair, any of the above. But all of you who have joined us, we truly appreciate you. Marnie, Brian, Doobie, others that were here in the live. We appreciate you. If you have been watching us on your big screen TV, as you can do with YouTube, and here at this YouTube Live, 16 red flags, we appreciate you doing so. I am asking you, though, if you are watching us or will watch this back later, to go over to the Raven Scott Show. I believe, if I'm saying it correct, that's your Instagram, correct, Raven?
Yes, and my YouTube channel.
Okay, all right. And follow and subscribe. Follow her on Instagram, by all means, subscribe to her YouTube channel as a part of the YouTube community. Make sure, as I often say, let YouTube know you like her by subscribing. It will let them know that they should continue to push her content out to more people. Caroline Middlesdorf, I love your name. I think it's like, it should be,
Thank you.
you need a shirt with your entire name across it and your website right underneath it. And so everybody needs to say it over and over. You have been a great source of encouragement and tips for me. I still have my lavender from our original show. That's an inside joke. You'd have to watch the show on my channel here. It's uploaded already. We're going to do some work together in the future with some shows. Raven, same thing with you. I appreciate both of you. If you're watching this and you have found yourself being thoroughly surprised with information that may apply to you, feel free to pass it on and share it with others. We want to make sure, as Caroline said much earlier, that many as possible are aware of red flags because not everyone has a mom or dad or someone to give them some advice. Feel free to share that information. Both of you have just been amazing people today. Just amazing. Love the coat, by the way. Nice coat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very stylish, both of you. I'm going to have to upgrade my wardrobe just to hang out with both of you. Right now, is there anything in particular, Caroline, Raven, you want to let the audience know if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
you
just
always-
talking. Go ahead, Caroline.
Sorry, it's hard to see. I'm sorry.
I know I can't see you.
No, I can also not say so. It's kind of like, of course, I knew it would happen. Always, I have also now a YouTube channel. It's Caroline Middlesdorf. It's just my name, so you will find me on YouTube.
I'm subscribing.
share-
I'm subscribing.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm gonna share helpful tips and tricks there. So I always like it very practical and solution oriented. But also, if you want, you can always come to my Instagram account. It's the same name, Caroline Middlesdorf, and send me a DM. I give also there tips, tricks, and advice if I can help.
Mm-hmm. Great advice, by the way. I love you have some of the coolest videos. The one you did with the lime, I think it was a lime or something. I was like,
Yeah.
what is that going to be? And it made me, I had to watch the whole thing. It's really cool. Go ahead, Raven, you were going to say.
I'm going to share that today I'm going live after this to answer human design questions, and I'll share a bit more about the full moon in Virgo, which is this perfect energy to do exactly what we're talking about: is evaluate your relationships, see which ones you need to release, and take a look at some of your daily habits that you're doing that can improve you to serve you, and release those that are not serving you. So I'm going to be doing that live. Probably going to hop on after I eat a little bit, and then I'll go into my show over there.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard you talk and you didn't plug your book. That's the first time you didn't.
No, I should, shouldn't I?
That was
Well,
weird. I was waiting
It's
for it.
all it's all over my Instagram as well. But yeah, Empath and the Narcissist. It is truly a healing guide for people pleasers. So you can find it on Amazon. Every chapter has a meditation, a healing, a journal prompt, something to help you, give you the tools to navigate the situation you're in and to heal.
Well, thank you, ladies, both very much. I wanted to make sure we got this time together on this particular article. Everybody, please feel free to say goodbye, but I need to do something here. I made a little something for you to end the show. It's a little music, but I put a picture with it too, something simple. Everybody, we love each and every one of you, but we've got to go, all three of us. You will see us again next week. You will get more shows right here on Narc Abuse TV Network, and we truly appreciate you. Have a very great weekend, and ladies, I love each and every one of you very, very much, and for all the hard work you do in helping others. Thank you for doing this today. Everybody, have a great weekend.
Thank
Thank